Ladies and gentlemen, there is more than just a controversy on the internet tonight. There's a confession in there, a revelation that no one anticipated, not even the Harris family's most vocal detractors. Rap mogul T's kid, King Harris, has emerged from the shadows of rumors and entered the flames. Yes, admitting that he's gay. And the timing, you couldn't have scripted this in, caused viral havoc. Hollywood. Immediately following the release of a Jailhouse video that depicts him in a scenario that has already caused social media, then, King himself delivers the shocking revelation that completely upends the discussion. But I have a question for you. When the bad boy of hip-hop royalty not only gets caught but takes ownership of the issue, what does it mean? Is this courage? Is it conceit? Or is it the best method for regaining control of a tail slipping from his grasp? What about his dad, T, the monarch of the self-declared defender of his family's honor, the South? What measures does a guy with a reputation and heritage take to the one headline that can't be removed by influence, music, or money? This isn't only rumors, so stay right here. It's a burning dynasty. The Harrises have always been in the news. Through reality programs and platinum singles, they established an empire based on wealth, notoriety, and a meticulously cultivated facade of success. However, there has always been a name behind that image that doesn't exactly suit the description. Harris King, the son of the well-known vocalist Tiny and rapper T. King, established a reputation for mayhem, arrests, bites, viral meltdowns, and more than his music or business. Give it a name. At the heart of everything has been King. He flourished on disobedience, supplying the blogs with each careless action. Even his most scathing detractors, however, were unprepared for what followed. A confession that rocked the internet and a Jailhouse recording. Like most scandals, it started contemporary disputes do. A few blurry videos, some hazy pictures and quiet murmurs on the internet, and a deluge of conjecture. According to social media investigators, the video captured King in a vulnerable situation. With one of his alleged friends imprisoned, fans first dismissed it. Ultimately, King was used to rumors. However, after that, the videos began to circulate more quickly, were studied in many forums, frame by frame, and before long, the rumors became widely reported headlines. King Harris's gay son was captured on camera while incarcerated. The story swiftly gained popularity and became the most talked about issue on the internet by the time mainstream websites caught up. However, this is the unexpected turn of events. King did the unimaginable rather than reject the charges or take aim at the bloggers like he typically does. In an Instagram stream that has received millions of views, he made the admission. He gazed directly into the "y'all keep talking like it's some secret," he continued, addressing the camera. "I'm me, and yes, I'm gay. Just like that, so what?" He turned the scandal around with a single comment. Inverted. An open statement instead of a humiliating leak caused the internet to lose its mind. Waves of reactions followed. His honesty was commended by some who called it a daring step in a field infamous for homophobia and abusive masculinity. Others made fun of him, bringing up his name. Hashtags, claiming that he just acknowledged it because he had no other option due to the footage. His father T, however, was arguably the most audible voice absent from the discussion. Silence was deafening to a guy who had cultivated a reputation as the gruff, protective patriarch. Supporters awaited his defense, his youngster to deal with the disorder. Rather, all they received were murmurs of stress and reports of arguments that took place behind closed doors. In the Harris home, and rumors that T was utterly destroyed, insiders presented a bleak image. References said that T had breached this from his early court cases. According to reports, he was incensed, not at King for being homosexual, but because the confession was made during a jail video controversy that damaged not just King's reputation, but the family's whole history. This was more than a personal issue for T. This was the height of public humiliation. His industry competitors were smelling blood, and websites that had previously extolled his empire were now destroying it piece by piece. King, meanwhile, doubled down. He wasn't retreating, wasn't hiding, and wasn't saying sorry. Instead, he posted cryptic messages such, "Truth don't hurt me. It hurts," leaning into the pandemonium. "You can't cancel me if I've already canceled myself." And for his followers, depending on who you asked, it was either reckless hubris or legendary defiance. In any case, the clicks continued. Every live stream, every post, and every rumor fed the flames, and the stakes increased along with the fire. The confession was no longer limited to sexuality. It turned into a referendum on family, celebrity, and the price of living under continuous examination. Is King's audacious action considered bravery? Or would it be seen as a scandal that ruined his father's legacy for all time? The world was still in the dark. However, one thing was for sure. This was not the end of the story. Because as soon as the dust settled, following King's startling admission, other leaks began to appear. More audio samples, more screenshots, more hints that there were other things lurking in the shadows than the tape. And what if those rumors turned out to be accurate? The climax was not what the world had just experienced. The saddest chapter in the Harris family's history had just begun. And the so-called investigation reports began just when everyone believed that the situation couldn't possibly grow much messier. Coming in. Suddenly, anonymous prison sources, fake insiders, and even a few TikTok specialists were in the front row. Delve into the alleged double life of King Harris. One purported article that has been spreading like wildfire claims that King was allegedly boasting about his compromising relationship with his friend within the jail block, telling others that true men don't conceal their identities. Did he say that after all? No one is aware, but social media isn't waiting for approval. They transform a single sentence or whisper into the ultimate truth. Fans began taking screenshots of phony direct messages purporting to come from other prisoners overnight. One purported message was read, "Bring told us straight out that he is into guys and doesn't care if people see it. He said he is no longer embarrassed. Them makes little difference whether it is genuine or not." The harm had already been completed. Half in astonishment and half in complete disbelief, people's emotions were all over the internet. While some denounced him as the last disgrace of T's life, others claimed they appreciated the alleged confession. Tale of parenting. In relation to T, the man was unable to find a break. Only days he had previously boasted on podcasts about his family's history and how his children were bound for glory. Quick. After a few nights, he was inundated with memes on Twitter that compared the scandals and beliefs of the Harris family in a snide manner. In one meme, the caption was quickly corrupted and even had T clutching a microphone. Your entire family tree is destroyed in 4K by the internet, which doesn't only come for you. And that's precisely what took place here. Jokes weren't the end of it, though. More information was purportedly released by anonymous jail officials, who claimed that the alleged recording was more than an accident. Those within who wanted to profit off King Harris's fame purposefully filmed it. Consider it. A well-known family is already embroiled in trouble, and then all of a sudden a recording is released. It's not a coincidence, according to the conspiracy theorists. It's a prelude. They asserted bloggers and other rival prisoners pay to release this video. And you know what? That notion was devoured by the internet, which turned it into a plot that would make a Netflix documentary. Meanwhile, phony investigative articles started to appear online. Headlines such as "Exclusive, King Harris's Secret Double Life," or "King Harris, the Truth He Attempted to Conceal" were popular. These articles weren't even authentic. They were blogs created overnight using evidence that had been photoshopped. However, individuals clicked, shared, and thought. That's what makes viral scandals so dangerously attractive. The more ridiculous it sounds, the more convincing it seems. A scandal in the present era would be impossible without the involvement of celebrities, of course. Everyone had an opinion all of a sudden, whether they were washed-up reality stars or odd rappers. A single rapper stated, "Stop looking startled when the game has been corrupt from the beginning, and let King live his truth." "Tit has been wild. It's not surprising that it's him this time," wrote another, considerably more vicious. But these takes only added fuel to the fire. An already raging fire. But the worst part is that some fans began to speculate. It's crazy to think that King himself was responsible for the tape's publication. But the reasoning was straightforward, at least in their opinion. He aimed to shock the public, establish his reputation via controversy, and ultimately from his father's shadow. Because, let's face it, King Harris was mostly recognized as T's son, who remained in difficulty. However, he became the news overnight. Whether it was good or bad, King may have just earned his place in the messy Hall of Fame. But although these hypotheses are true, attention is attention. Others started concentrating on the familial repercussions, and it spread like wildfire. How was Tiny managing this? Imagine being his siblings. Were the other members of the Harris household so humiliated that they woke up to see your brother making news across the world due to a jail tape controversy? Some so-called according to sources, there were heated disputes, pointless games, and even threats to cut King off completely in the family group chat. Did the public embrace these assertions despite the likelihood that they were untrue? Indeed, and as this tempest intensified, the focus moved to whether King was actually taking responsibility for his identity. Although social media is harsh, it also benefits from these alleged coming-out moments. Videos of King's previous interviews began to circulate. People started commenting, "Oh, we should have," when he made jokes about relationships or instances in which he snapped at detractors. Anticipated this. The signs were always present. Can you see marking a public perception may be so harmful that it might use a man's every action as evidence, all based on a single purported recording, not to mention the internet's favorite battleground, the army of memes. People weren't going to let this go anytime soon, from putting King's visage on rainbow flags with funny messages to remixing the purported video into parody songs. Soon, even people who didn't think the story was true joined in on the mayhem for the amusement. The worst aspect is that your controversy never goes away once it turns into a meme. However, this is where things took a more sinister turn. Allegations of possible legal action. There were rumors that King's attorneys were getting ready to file a lawsuit against the person who gave the audio away. Calling It attorneys spoke on TikTok to discuss the seriousness of the allegations against revenge porn and defamation, while others countered that suing would just serve to validate the validity of the recording. But in any case, it placed King in a difficult position. Either defend yourself legally and run the danger of confirming the narrative, or keep silent and let the rumors to consume you. In the meanwhile, screenshots started to circulate after T finally broke his silence, or so some said, of an impassioned message purportedly penned by him, which said, "I'm sad as a father. The guy I brought up is not reflected in my son's decisions. This has made our family name a disgrace. However, we shall muster the strength to go." Was this thing for real? Hard to say. Without an official source, it appeared to be a Notes app apology, but it spread more quickly than wildfire, and the harm was already done by the time anyone questioned it. Whether true or not, ignited the internet once again, with some accusing T of hypocrisy for serving as the moral compass while taking into account his personal prior disputes. Others expressed pity, stating that no parent should ever have to endure such a situation. The disparity was harsh. Half of the world was making fun of it, the other half was acting sympathetic, and everyone was watching the circus. At this precise time, the controversy shifted from being solely about King Harris to becoming a judgment on the Harris family itself. Were they doomed to remain in the public eye, or were they plagued with controversy? Was this just another chapter in the never-ending story of superstar failure, or was it all for the wrong reasons? Whether or if the so-called confession was genuine, it had already gone too far. King Harris was transformed overnight from T's problematic son to the focal point of one of the greatest embarrassing celebrity controversies in recent years, with YouTube channels, blogs, and gossip pages rushing to promote their own exclusive updates, each attempting to surpass the other with more outrageous allegations. Some said King had received hush money in exchange for staying. Others vowed fervently that he was preparing a candid interview in which he would correct the record. The irony was that the deception was just too amusing to be allowed to continue, and no one was interested in the truth anymore. However, the consequences within the Harris household was apparently disastrous, despite the internet's flurry. Alleged family. According to whispers from insiders, Tiny and T couldn't agree on how to deal with the storm. And Tiny was upset because T had let King's actions to get so out of hand, and T was said to be broken, pacing about in shock that his family's name was being pulled across the global stage once more. According to one alleged source, T even sobbed, saying, I have dedicated my entire life to this heritage, and now I see it being destroyed. In the meanwhile, King Harris was caught between two opposing viewpoints. On the one hand, he was reportedly humiliated and ashamed, drowning under a tsunami of internet mockery. However, whispers said that he was also experimenting with his newfound notoriety. Everyone was talking about him all of a sudden, even those who had never heard of him, followed rap, or cared about T. This would have seemed like warped affirmation to someone who was attention-obsessed, but King was hooked to the narrative. The notion that he might at last stand alone, not as T's son, but as the year's biggest scandal, and then the craziest turn of events. Screenshots of a real coming-out statement surfaced on Instagram stories, purportedly from King, who stated, I'm not hiding anymore. I love who I love, and you can't take away my authenticity. It didn't matter if he typed those words or not. To the internet, it was now verified. It was no longer conjecture, confession. The question was no longer, did this actually happen? To King Harris finally acknowledges it. He immediately faced criticism, with some praising him for surviving. His truth, even in the most repulsive situations, others viciously tore him away, accusing him of a single viral statement shamed not only him, but the entire family, who took great pleasure in their reputation and power. To wanted to raise a king, it stated, but ultimately raised the Atlanta court signal. Cruel, callous, yet unquestionably infectious. Fake claims of legal action, as if everything weren't already on fire. Investigations continued. According to tabloids, Fulton County may be investigating the tape's release, declaring it to be criminal action connected to corruption in jail. Some attorneys on TikTok contended that if prisoners were responsible for the leak, it can lead to legal action against the prison. Others said that King's group was preparing to weaponize the controversy by portraying it as a case of revenge porn and invasion of privacy. The worst part is still to come. All of this was not verified. It was all conjecture. However, rumors are more appealing than facts. Of course, there was money involved. The video was being shopped about for six-figure transactions, according to blogs. According to entertainment rumors, mature sites had made secret proposals to purchase exclusive rights. According to one story, King himself was even thinking about assuming control of the video and making money off of it before anybody else does. Could it be outrageous? Of course. But nothing is shocking anymore in the clout economy of today. The streets, meantime, had their own viewpoint. Debates ensued in barbershops, clubs, and online hood forums over whether King was truly about that life or whether this was just another episode in his never-ending run of careless actions. Some claimed that this demonstrated his uncontrollably downward spiral. Others dismissed it with a chuckle, claiming that King was only doing what everyone else does in private, but was unfortunate when the cameras started rolling. In any case, the man was now a walking joke. Every popular joke, sketch, and meme has a name. Put a stamp on it. But this wasn't comedy for T. This was the unraveling of a dynasty that he built over many years. Don't consider it. For many years, T claimed to be the king of Atlanta rap, a parental figure, a magnate, attempting to shape his children become heirs. However, in one, all of that was a chaotic viral week, diminished to debris. His son wasn't producing, he exploded a cultural bomb, making headlines, and know of how hard he tries to sweep the truth, ignoring this, or at the very least the online version of the truth has already been etched in stone. However, this is the actual query. What takes place right now? Will King Harris be reinventing himself soon? Himself as the unrepentant outlaw who takes ownership of his identity and profits from the disputation? Or will this turn into the ultimate tale of failure in which notoriety, real-time breakdown of the family and legacy for the world to see? In any case, there will never be another Harris dynasty. Once more, and the scandal's revenues are irreversible. Let's also be ruthless. It's not only about King, to be honest. It's on the extent to which the culture will accept humiliation as amusement. It concerns the speed at which a legacy can crumble when blood is detected on the internet. It concerns the cost of notoriety when your worst moment turns into your most popular video. Clip. So I'll let you do it. Was this confession as a last-ditch effort to authority, or a daring move into life in a genuine way? Does T suffer from a terrible turn of events or simply another famous parent seeing karmas return their relatives? Put your ideas in the remarks, as this discussion is far from over. And if you believe that this tale was crazy, I promise you that what comes next will make this seem like a kid's game. Hit the bell, subscribe, and keep checking back. Because secrets don't exist in our world. They just leak, then blow up. This is Rumors Spill Vibe where there are never any scandals.